Cord to cloud. Good morning. Namaste to each of you. Thank you for joining me today to honor your mind and your body and your spirit. We'll take a moment to become present. So find a nice, comfortable seated position on a blanket or towel, cushion, block, whatever makes your back nice and straight and long, and opens up your chest, opening up your heart and your diaphragm. And just soften your eyes, closing them gently. Soften your thoughts. Soften your eyes. Soften your shoulders. Soften your heart. Observe your breath as it is, soft and gentle, breathing life into you with each inhale and relaxation with each exhale. Feel the grace of being present, returning to that awareness again and again. You may open your eyes now. For this morning's intention, you may think of a positive word or phrase to have with you on your mat and perhaps carry with you throughout the day. This morning's intention is the third Niyama, the guidelines, how to interact with yourself, and it's called Tapas, T-A-P-A-S, and tap comes from the Sanskrit to burn. It's about self-discipline and self-control, leading to change and transformation. So think of a controlled burn that's done to a field, how it goes from growth to ashes. How it transforms the area, bringing it to its core down to the earth. The burn then helps to restore nutrients, and the slow, controlled burn helps to create desirable plant growth. And that we can apply this idea, the slow and controlled burn, to ourselves. We will then grow in a healthy way when we feel that burn inside. It's like there's a phrase on it, it's like brain freeze right now, but it's that burning of your gut that you get that control, and it makes you have more desirable outcomes. So this being September, it's actually National Yoga Month. So one of the ideas of National Yoga Month, which was instituted in 2008, and it's national for US, not worldwide like International Yoga Days in June. But its intention is to promote healthy bodies and wellness. And one of the suggestions is to do that by trying something new. So in our yoga practice, we're going to try something that's new. We've actually done it once before. It's called Ashtanga Yoga. So there's many different styles of yoga in the Hatha yoga style. Hatha is one of the schools of yoga, and Ha means sun and Ta means moon, and it's about force, this particular school of yoga. And the Hatha styles, there's tons and tons of them, but the more familiar ones are Vinyasa, Hatha, Kundalini, Ashtanga, Iyengar, and Yin, and the Bikram, which is the hot yoga. So today we're going to do Ashtanga. Next week we're going to do Iyengar, which that focuses a lot on props. So it's going to be all about props and how they can help you with your yoga practice. The following week we'll do Yin, which we've done before. And last week of September, we'll try something new, something I've been wanting to do for a long time, which is chair yoga. So that'll be at the end of the month. So today, Ashtanga, it's a style of Hatha yoga. It requires practice, patience, control, and most of all, discipline. It has 6 series or levels, from a primary level on to advanced level. And you are encouraged to practice 6 days a week. So that's where the discipline comes in. Personally, I think when you find yourself on your mat, that's disciplined. Bringing yourself to your mat whenever, each day, if that works for you, or whenever, that's discipline. So this takes it to another level. So the Ashtanga series is designed to create internal heat, which improves the circulation and detoxifies the body. Central to the practice is your, brain cramp, anyway, ocean breath. So if you think of the Darth Vader breath that we usually do, it's the soundtrack of your practice. And it really encourages you to go at the pace of your breath, not your teacher's pace. So envision yourself being this, breathing the Uji breath, thank you, and having it be the soundtrack of your practice. And your teacher might be going a little bit at a jitterbug level, and your breath is going more at a waltz level. Well, you go at the waltz level. Don't go try to do the jitterbug. It's very important that you follow what's good for you. Also in the Ashtanga, there's bandhas, locks, and seals. Those are created for stability and strength and flexibility. And drishti is the focusing of the eye, which if you're focusing your eye, then you're focusing your mind. So the primary series, which we'll do just a glimpse of today, usually ones I've seen online are for about an hour and a half or so. Many people stay in this level, the first primary series, for years and years and years until they master the poses. It's a sequence of poses that are the same each time you do Ashtanga. So once you understand the poses and the sequence, you're able to take this practice anywhere you want. You don't need a teacher in front of you to do it. So I'm going to go to the mat and we'll get started on that. And thank you for your patience. So we'll start in the basic seated pose. We're going to count to 5, and we're going to use the Uji breath, Still don't think I'm pronouncing it right. And really focus on that breath. We're not going to do any sun breath movements, but just take 5 deep breaths of equal length and focus on the breath, calming or breathing life into you and then calming you down with the exhale. So let's take 1 deep breath. 2, 3, 4, and 5. So let's stand up, come into mountain pose. Then have you just kind of raise your toes, what we usually do, lift your toes up and spread them apart. And then bring them back down to the mat and lift your heels up and bring that back down to the mat. That's not part of Ashtanga, but I think it just helps to ground yourself and really feel grounded in your mat. So the mountain, there's a spot in Ashtanga that they come back to, and it's the Anjali Mudra prayer pose, and it's a phrase they use is samashitihi. So that means steady balance. So we'll do a sequence, and then we'll come back to samashitihi. And we'll do another sequence and come back to samashitihi. So steady balance. It's basically mountain pose. So if you remember everything about mountain pose, you're really grounded in the mat. Legs are strong and active. Knees are gently bent. Navel's tucked to the spine. Shoulders are relaxed and rolled back. Crown of the head is reaching up. So that's samashitihi. So to start the Ashtanga sequence, there's the Sun Salutation A and Sun Salutation B. So we're going to do the Sun Salutation A 3 times, and then we're going to do the Sun Salutation B 2 times. So let's start with the Sun Salutation A. Come in samashitihi. We're going to raise our arms up overhead. Send your gaze up to your thumbs, and then bring your hands down to forward fold. You may bend your knees to support your lower back. Inhale, come up to half forward fold and really follow your breath on this. So we'll go through the movements, and then by the 3rd time, we should probably all be able to follow our breath more than me. So forward fold, bringing your crown of your head down toward the ground. Bringing your hands to the mat, extend your feet to the back of the mat, coming into plank. Plank, your navel's tucked to your spine, elevating your hips slightly. Legs are active and pushing your heels to the back of the mat. Wrists are right below your shoulders. And then slowly come down to the mat, either knees, chest, chin, or chaturanga, keeping your elbows tucked to your ribs. And then we're going to push gently up, come up into cobra, or if you can, come up into up dog, which is extending your arms fully and coming up onto the tops of your feet. Then pivot your feet so that you come into downward dog. Downward dog, you can keep your knees bent or pedal out. And then walk your feet up to your hands. Half forward fold, flat back, forward fold, crown coming down to the ground. And then bring your hands up overhead, sending your gaze up to your thumbs. Palms come together. Bring your hands down to heart center, samashitihi. We'll do that again. So inhale, hands go up, gaze goes up to your thumbs. Exhale, forward fold, knees are bent. Inhale, half forward fold, straight back, nice and stretched out. Exhale, forward fold, crown comes down to the ground. Hands come to the mat, extend your feet to the back of the mat, coming into plank. Exhale, chaturanga, come down to the mat, knees, chest, chin, or chaturanga. Push up to cobra, gentle back bend, or come up into up dog, and then into downward dog. And pedal out here for a moment. And walk your feet up to your hands. Half forward fold, straight back, forward fold, bringing the crown of your head down to the ground. Inhale, sweep your hands up overhead, sending your gaze up to your thumbs, palms together, bring palms to heart center, samashitihi, steady balance. And one last time for sun salutation. We'll go a little bit faster. Follow your breath though. Remember, if you're waltzing, follow the waltz, the soundtrack of the waltz. Hands come up, forward fold, knees are bent. Inhale, halfway up, half forward fold, flat back. Forward fold, head comes down, hands come to the mat. Extend your feet back to plank. Navel's tucked to the spine, come down, chaturanga, knees, chest, chin, or chaturanga. Push up gently to cobra or to up dog, extending your arms fully. Tuck your toes under and come into downward dog. Pedal out here for a moment. And then walk your feet up to your hands. Half forward fold. Forward fold, head comes down. And sweep your hands from the mat all the way up overhead. Palms come together, gaze up to the thumbs. Palms come to heart center. Samashitihi, steady balance. So that's the sun salutations. And that we're starting to warm up our body, creating that burn. The burning in our belly, the burning, the desire to change. So sun salutation has a lot of similar elements, just adds a few more to it. So sweeping your hands up overhead. And then we're going to bend our knees, coming into chair pose. So we're sending our hips back down toward the mat. Tuck your navel to your spine and flip over to forward fold. Bring your hands up to half forward fold, flat back. Forward fold, bringing your hands, both hands to the mat, extending your feet to the back of the mat to plank. Navel's tucked to the spine, elevating your hips slightly. And then knees, chest, chin, or chaturanga down. Gently come up into cobra or up dog. Tuck your toes under. Come into downward dog. Pedal out here for a moment. And then we're going to bring our right foot up between our hands. So you may want to lift and guide your foot so that it comes between your hands into runner's lunge. Your knees right below or above your ankle. Back leg is nice and active and strong. And we'll come up to high lunge. So we can do that in two steps. One coming to the knee and then coming all the way up. Front knee is still bent. Arms are extended up to the sky. And then bring our hands back down to the mat. Bring our foot back to downward dog. Come back into plank. And then come down, chaturanga, knees, chest, chin. Come back up to cobra or up dog. Tuck your toes under, coming into downward dog. Pedal out here for a moment. Now we're going to bring our left foot up between our hands. So guide your left foot up so that you come into runner's lunge. Knees stacked right above your ankle. Back leg is nice and active and strong. You're going to push down to lift up. So push down your left foot, come up halfway, or come up all the way up to high lunge. Arms are up above. And then come back down to runner's lunge. Bring your left foot back to meet your right foot. Come back down to plank. Then chaturanga. Push up to cobra or to upward dog. And then turn your toes over, come into downward dog. And pedal out here for a moment. And then walk your feet up to your hands. Come up to half forward fold, flat back. Exhale, forward fold. And then bend your knees, this forward fold. And we're going to come into chair pose and then lift up to mountain pose. So your hands are up above your head, palms together, hands come to heart center, samashitihi. And we'll do that one more time. Again, go at your own pace. Follow your own soundtrack. The Ujjayi breath, which I can hear really well now. So inhale, sweeping your hands up overhead. And then coming into chair pose, bringing your hips down toward the mat. Then flip over to forward fold. Inhale, halfway up, half forward fold, flat back. Exhale, forward fold, bringing your hands to the mat. Extend your feet to the back of the mat for plank. Navel's tucked to your spine, elevating your hips slightly. And then knees, chest, chin, or chaturanga down to the mat. Elbows tucked to the side. Gently push up to cobra or to upward dog. Tuck your toes under, come into downward dog. Pedal out here for a moment. And the right foot comes between your hands, so lifting the right foot up, guiding it with your hands if necessary. Coming into runner's lunge, knees right over your ankle. Back leg is nice and active. We're going to push down in the front foot so that we come up to high lunge. And you can do that in 2 steps. And then come back down to runner's lunge. Guide your right foot to the back of the mat. Coming into plank and chaturanga. Or knees, chest, chin down to the mat. Inhale, come up to cobra. Elbows are tucked toward your ribs. Or up to upward dog. Arms are fully extended. Tuck your toes under. Come into downward dog and pedal out here for a moment. And then we'll bring our left foot between our hands. Bring her into runner's lunge. So knees right over our ankle. And we're going to push down to lift up into high lunge. You can come up 2 steps. Arms go up above your head. Deep breaths. Bring your hands back down to the mat. Bring your left foot back to join your right foot, coming into plank. Chaturanga, down to the mat. Knees, chest, chin, otherwise. Push up to cobra or up to upward dog. Tuck your toes under, come into downward dog. Pedal out here for a moment. And walk your feet up to your hands, coming into forward fold. Sweep your hands up to half forward fold, flat back. Crown of your head goes down, forward fold. Bending your knees. And then lifting your hands up, so you're coming up into chair pose. And then lifting up into mountain. Hands come together. Bring your hands to heart center. Samashitihi. There. I'm warmed up. I hope you are as well. So again, the idea of Ashtanga is to have these poses in the set sequence all the time, so you can do it without any teacher involved, and you could go more at your own pace. But it is, the sun salutations are a wonderful warm up, wonderful way of getting your body all nice and flexible. So moving on with Ashtanga, there are standing poses and then there's sitting poses. So the standing poses, you may want to get a block or two available. And you should always have those available to you. And we'll talk a lot next week about using props. So the first standing pose in the sequence for Ashtanga is a forward fold, holding your big toes. They have a thing about the big toes in Ashtanga, and I don't understand why. I haven't found any literature on it, but if you go down to forward fold, again, bend your knees to support your lower back. That works for you. And then just grab onto your big toes. So you take 5 deep breaths here. And then the next pose, you're still in forward fold. You're going to slide your hands underneath your foot. And if your toes can come to the crease of your wrist, that's the optimum style. And again, bend your knees to support your lower back. The idea though is to straighten your knees. I don't know if my arms are too short to ever have that happen, although my legs are short too, So 5 deep breaths with your hands under your feet. And then release your hands. Inhale, sweeping your hands from the mat all the way up overhead. Sending your gaze up to your thumbs. Palms come together. Palms come to heart center. Samashitihi. And then we're going to do triangle pose. So that you come into as if you're setting up for warrior 2. We'll say our left foot's pointed to the top of the mat. And instead of having your knee bent, it's going to be straight. The back foot is angled about 45 degrees. Chest is open to the long side of the mat. We sweep our hands up, and then we're going to reach like that. We're reaching for something on a shelf, and then bring our hands down. Again, blocks are great here, so you can land anywhere on your leg that feels right. Now, if this our right arm up to the sky feels awkward, you can bend it and place it on your back along your waistline. So just come down to any spot that feels right for you. And if you are able to send your right arm up to the sky and send your gaze up to your right hand, that's fine as well. And then lift up, and we'll do that on the other side. So again, feel like you're setting up for warrior two. And then straighten out your front leg. Chest is open to the long side of your mat. Arms go up to shoulder height. And reach to the right as if you're reaching for something off the shelf. And then bring that hand down to your leg and slide it down as far as what's comfortable for you. And again, you can have your left arm behind your back, just resting on your waist, or up to the sky, sending your gaze up to the sky. And then come back up. Now this next one is very challenging for me. It's a twist triangle. So we're gonna go back to the other side. And I'm gonna definitely bring a block in. So you set up like you're in a triangle, but actually your hips are going to be facing the corners of the mat, the straight edge of the front of the mat. So you're squared off with the front of the mat. So your left arm can go behind your back and just rest it on your waist. You send your right arm up. So your left leg is straight and in front, and your right arm is going up straight. And I'm going to bring that right arm to the outer edge of your left foot. So with me, having it on a block works well, or sending it down to my foot, I can also do, but when I send my left arm up, that's when the balance comes a little trickier. So again, you can just rest your arm on your lower back or send it up to the sky. And if you're able to, send your gaze up to the left hand. That's great too. And then come back up. And we'll do that on the other side. And this is reverse triangle. So again, the important piece is to have your hips squared off with the short edge of the mat. We place our right arm behind our back, resting it on our waist. Send the left arm up into the air. And then bend over, pivot at the waist, and come and place your hand anywhere on your right leg. And if you can slide it down to the outer edge of your right foot, that's great. Or to a block. And then if you can send your right arm up to the sky and send your gaze up to it, that's great too. And then come back up. Bring your feet together to mountain pose. Inhale deeply, sweeping your hands up overhead. Sending your gaze up to your fingertips. Palms come together. Palms come to heart center. Samashitihi. Okay, so next, we're going to do the side angle, which we've done many times before. So get back into that warrior two pose. So your toes are, left toes are facing the short edge of the mat. Your knee gets stacked over your ankle. Your back foot back edge is nice and snug into the mat. Your left arm comes to your left leg, and your right arm comes overhead, creating a nice force of energy from your toes up through your fingertips, opening your chest, opening your heart. And then come up, and we'll do that on the other side. So just pivot your feet. You should be able to stay in the same position. Bend your right knee. Back edge of your left foot's nice and snug in the mat. Right arm comes to the right thigh. Left arm comes up and overhead, creating a straight line of energy from your toes through your fingertips. And then we're actually going to come from here down to the mat. So you can pivot your back foot and come into runner's lunge, and then place your left knee on the mat. So we're in low lunge. We'll come up, bring our hands to heart center. This is where we want to be, but in a twist form. So you can actually stay here if you want, or if you want, you can hook your left elbow on the inner edge of your right knee and bring that prayer pose so that your hands are at your heart center into the twist. So again, stay front, or you can try the twist. And if you really want to be challenged, you can be trying to twist in with your knee off the mat. And then come back down, and we'll flip to the other side so that we are in low lunge on the other side. And we'll do that. Same thing. Again, come up, hands come to heart center, and you can stay here if you want, or you can hook your elbow on the inner part of your left knee, bringing your hands heart center and creating a twist. And if you want that extra challenge, you can lift your knee off the mat and create that twist. Woo. And fall over. And then come back down to the mat. We'll come back into tabletop, and because we're going to go back up. So let's curl our toes under and come into a squat and come back up into mountain samashiti. So this one we're going to bring our, let's do the samashiti. So bring our hands up overhead, inhaling deeply, gaze comes to the thumbs, palms come to heart center, samashiti. The next one we'll do wide-legged stance. So you bring your legs apart, and if you can bring them apart so that they're just, your feet are just below your wrists, that's a good stance. Your toes are faced straight, maybe a little bit of a pigeon toe going on, your heels out. You should not be with your toes facing the corners, either straight or slightly pigeon-toed. So hands come to our waist and bend your knees and fold forward and bring your hands to the mat. And if you can bring your elbows down to the mat, that's fine. But just bringing your hands to the mat, basically a forward fold with a wide-legged stance. So the crown of your head's reaching toward the ground. And if you can, if it feels comfortable for you, you can straighten out your legs here. just don't lock your knees or lock your elbows in any position. Keep that soft bend on all poses. So inhale, bring your hands to your waist, bend your knees, and come upright. And then we're gonna bring our hands behind our back, interlacing our fingers. Knees are bent. And this is called the yoga lock. So this is the only way or only style of lock that you should do versus locking your knees or locking your elbows. So interlacing your fingers behind your back. This is a lock. Bending your knees, we're going to bring our pivot from the waist, bringing our head down toward the mat again. And send our hands up to the sky. So we're forward fold with the yoga lock. And again, if you want to straighten out your legs, not locking the knees, but gently having the knees bent. And then bring the hands back down to your waist. Bring your hands to your hips or to your waist. Bend your knees and come back up, right? And one last one with the wide-legged stance. So with your hands on your waist, knees bent, pivot from the waist, lean over, forward fold, heads reaching toward the ground, and then send your hands out to your toes and wrap your fingers around your big toes. Inhale, bring your hands back to your waist, bending your knees, and then come back up upright. Okay, pyramid pose. What time do we have? Pyramid pose. So the pyramid pose is similar to what we did with the reverse triangle. So you bring your left foot pointing your toes toward the short edge of the mat. Your back foot is at a 45-degree angle. And you can bring it out so that your left foot's in one track, your right foot's in another track. Then we're going to bring our arms behind our back. Now, one option they have is kind of a reverse prayer pose. So it's behind your back in a prayer pose like that. Another option is so that your hands are coming toward your each elbow, the opposite elbow. Or you could just interlace your fingers like we did for the yoga lock. So I would like the having your hands reaching toward your elbows so that it opens up your heart, which is the idea of this pose. And then we're going to pivot at the waist, bringing our head down toward our knee. And take a few breaths. Inhale, come back up. And we'll do that on the other side. So just pivot your feet. Right foot is pointing toward the short edge of the mat. Left foot is at a 45-degree angle. Feet are in separate tracks. Your arms are wrapped behind your back. Front legs straight. Pivot at the waist. And bring your crown of your head, or not crown of your head, your face toward your knee. And then come back up again. And this last one of the standing poses, what you can do is lift, get into your comfortable mountain pose where you feel nice and secure and stable. We're going to lift our right leg up, and then you can bring your right leg out to the side. So that's one option. The full expression of the pose is lifting your leg up, grabbing the big toe, sending your leg out straight in front of you, and then sending it over to the side. Again, I think my arms are too short, or my legs are too long, whatever. But so the other option, just kind of lifting your leg and sending it out to the side, works great. So then we'll try that on the other side. Lift your other leg up and send it out to the side. Or if you're inclined, grab your left toe with your left hand, straighten out your leg in front of you, and then send it off to the side. Whew. All right, we're done with standing poses. So one last Shamasthiti. So inhale, deep inhale, hands go up overhead, gaze goes up to the fingers, palms together, bring the palms to heart center. Shamasthiti. All right, now seated poses. Come on down to the mat, any way you'd like. We'll go through the basics of staff just briefly. So with staff, our legs are nice and straight and strong, soft, gentle bend in the knees, feet are flexed up to the sky. You can make fists, push your hips off the mat and then lay them back down so you feel that connection of your hips, your sit bones to the mat. So you're in staff pose. And then we're gonna bring our legs, bend our legs and bring them toward us. And grab the outer edges of our feet. So bring your feet as close to you as you can so you can grab the outer edges of your feet. And then we're gonna slide our feet forwards gently. My feet kind of stick on the mat, so I'm gonna have to walk them out. And the idea is to get to having your legs flat and your chin coming toward your knees, or your forehead coming toward your knees. So it's a forward fold, seated forward fold. But again, you can, when you are starting, you can walk your feet out to whatever length that is comfortable for you and just stop there. And inhale, let go. You can bring your come back to staff position. Bring your right knee up toward you, so it's knee to chest. And then wrap your left arm around your right knee, sending your right fingertips to the back of your hips. First stage pose. And if you want a little extra twist, you bring your left elbow on the inner side of your right knee and leverage that so that you're just twisting from your waist and looking over your right shoulder. So then come back. We'll do that on the other side. Bring your left leg to your chest, wrap your right arm around your left knee. Left hand goes behind your hips. And you could stay here. Nice twist here. Or if you want a little bit more leverage, bring your right elbow on the inside of your left, on the outer side rather, of your right left knee and twist so you're turning your head over your left shoulder. And then come back. So roll down on the mat. You do that express method or one vertebrae at a time. And we'll come into bridge pose. So your knees are bent with the knees facing up toward the sky. Hands are alongside you, the palms facing down to support you. And then we'll just round our lower back, tucking our tummy, our navel to the spine, pushing down into the feet, lift up into bridge pose. And then slowly lower down one vertebrae at a time. And we'll do that 2 more times. So tuck your navel toward your spine, bringing your lower back down toward the mat. Pushing down in your feet, lift your hips up toward the sky. And then lower back down one vertebrae at a time. And one last time. Tuck navel to the spine, lower back comes toward the mat. Push down into your feet, lifting up your hips toward the sky. Knees are parallel, they shouldn't be splayed apart. Gazes up to the sky. And then slowly lower one vertebrae at a time. And then the last pose, one we did the other week, where you bring your knees to your chest. Ooh, that feels good. Let's stay there for a moment. Rock. And then send your feet up to the sky. And you could go into a shoulder stand if you want. I'm going to choose not to today. And if you have a wall close by, legs up a wall would work. Or if you have a blanket, you could tuck the blanket underneath your hips. That will also help to get your legs up straight and feel a little bit more comfortable. And then bring your feet back down and come up into a seated position. So you roll over to your right side or your favorite side and come up into the seated position. And I'm going to use my towel to come into a seated position, because this is in Ashtanga. This is when the meditation part of so your body's all nice and warmed up, and then you can relax and sit and meditate for a while. So come into a comfortable seated position. I have my towel so that it elevates my hips so that my knees sink a little lower than my hips. If you have your crease where your hips are the same level as your knees, or if your knees are lower, that's ideal. And then bring our fingers into Gyan Mudra. So your thumb and your index finger come together. The other 3 are extended up toward the sky. You bring your hands down, palms up, and just lay them on your knees so that your fingertips are facing down toward the floor. And we'll just take a moment here to meditate, and then Savasana comes after the meditation. You may open your eyes and you can recline on your mat into Shavasana, or you can stay in that meditation pose if that feels comfortable for you. We'll just do Shavasana for a few minutes. So with Shavasana, you take some nice deep breaths. Maybe a few last Ujjayi breath. Equal length. Breathing deeply from bringing that breath from your toes on up to your nose. And then exhaling deeply. Just relaxing. Letting the nutrients of today's practice soak deep within you. And I'd like to read a poem by Dana Valds titled Yoga, in honor of this month of September, National Yoga Month. Her poem, Yoga. Yoga is not about the pose. It's not the alignment of toes or hips or shoulders. It's not about the form. Yoga is an invitation to explore, not a command performance. It speaks the language of the soul. In the flow of breath and motion, yoga coaxes us from the confines of the known across the silent threshold into vastness. Yoga is the union of prayer and movement, guided from inside. It is healing and the joy of saying yes to life. Breathe, relax, and feel the body receive its own truth. The seed of freedom flowers within each of us whenever we are open to what's real.